So good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Majors to Career series. My name is Jason Carter. I'm the Assistant Director of College Access at DePaul University. And I am blessed to be here today with Ivan Gutierrez, former DePaul alum, current owner of Lavaca Margarita Bar in Pilsen and also Lincoln Park now too, right?
Yes.
Which is just an amazing accomplishment in itself. But he has an amazing story, so I'm going to let him tell you about himself. So, Ivan, thank you for being here. So tell our audience and our students and families a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Ivan Gutierrez. I'm a Chicagoland entrepreneur. I focus on hospitality, food and beverage, and real estate. I am co-owner of La Vaca Margarita Bar. I own it with my brother and my two cousins. I excel in the hospitality industry because since a young age, I realized that people are going to need food and a home to live amongst other things in life. Um, uh, I was always inspired by my family. I think I inherited the entrepreneurial spirit. I was fortunate enough to grow up in the family business. I am third generation in the restaurant industry. My grandparents had a restaurant since the 1970s. My parents had restaurants. My uncles had restaurants, and now me and my brother, my cousins, are fortunate to have a restaurant now. I think we developed a very good work ethic from our family, creativity, and we learn with consistency are the keys to success. As we continue to grow, our goal is to turn a small family corner restaurant to a chain of restaurants, hopefully across the United States and maybe out of the country. You never know. So that's a little bit about myself.
Okay, well, it sounds like you have some definitely some important and great ventures there as well. Now, you mentioned that you were the co-owner of Lavaca, but you also mentioned that you were in other businesses as well. So, you can tell us about those ventures too.
Yes, so I'm also into real estate. I'm a landlord of a few properties. Um, since a young age, when I started opening up the restaurant, my family's into real estate, and they always mention to build wealth over long term. It's always best to invest in real estate and eventually pass it on to the next generation. So I'm also a landlord as also co-owner of a restaurant.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Ivan, you had all of these big things that you're doing now. So tell us about high school, Ivan. Right. So what were some of the steps that you took to prepare yourself for college and then going into the business ventures that you're in now?
I did go to a lot of schools growing up. So take preparing myself for college, I wasn't really prepared as much as I wanted to be, and that's because I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a lawyer, if I wanted to work in the music industry, or even open up a restaurant. So I did end up going to community college after high school. I think it was a great way for me to learn more about myself, what I was interested in, and also to save a lot of money too. um, but I obviously at the end of the day, I ended up to pursue the family business. So in high school, I something that I did help prepare for college was also work on the weekends. I did go to school Monday through Friday, obviously, and then on weekends I was, working at the family restaurant Saturdays and Sundays. And I think that also helps for college because I knew in college I wasn't gonna just be a full-time student. I was gonna have to have some type of job to pay for tuition and stuff.
Now, did you go to high school here in the city of Chicago?
I went to two different high schools. I went to Holy Trinity, which is closer to like Westtown, I believe, and I also went to Carl Sandburg High School, which is in Orland Park. It's a suburb like 45 minutes outside of Chicago.
And yeah, I'm familiar with Sandberg and Holy Trinity. So great foundations there. So shout out to all the Holy Trinity and Sandberg people. So what motivated you to eventually enroll in DePaul? So you were at community college, and what made DePaul stand out?
Um, DePaul was always had like a great reputation. I will always hear my family talk about DePaul, and hoping that one day when their kids grow up, they can go to college. And DePaul was always like a recognizable university. But for me personally, to figure out that I wanted to go back to school was during when I opened up the restaurant. I was 22 when me and my family opened up La Vaca. And after working 7 days a week, working 105 hours a week, for 2 years, I realized that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And I knew that if I needed to make a change, and I did have like a 20% fear that the restaurant wasn't gonna, succeed as much as I wanted it to. So I did make it a goal to go back to school for two reasons. One was to grow the restaurant. I wanted to figure out how I can grow the restaurant and push it to the next level. Um, and number two was it was kind of like a little backup plan as well in case the restaurant didn't succeed. I did want to have a degree to back me up and to be able to, have a good stable career. Yeah.
You talk about working 7 days a week, 105 hours a week.
Yeah.
Do that? Like, how did you do that while still going to school?
So I always had a vision of what I want, where I wanted to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so that was kind of like what kept me motivated. So the way I did is I had a plan. I had to have my priorities straight. I focused a lot, and I worked 6 days out the week and I had one day off. And that one day off, I made sure I was a full-time student. So Tuesdays was the day where I had morning, and then I had a class all the way until 9 p.m. So I was able to fit in 4 classes on a Tuesday, and the rest of the days I was basically at the restaurant working. Luckily I was able to do my homeworks in between shifts and stuff, but that's kind of how I managed working 105 hours and being a full-time student.
Wow, that's an amazing amount of discipline and motivation to get to where you wanted to go. So I'm assuming that you weren't at the parties at all that were going on. I'm assuming.
No, it was very challenging because when at the age of 22, 23, that's the age where a lot of my friends were inviting me out, going out, and I had to reject a lot of those events and parties. I was more focusing. Sorry about that. I was more focused on my work and my business, and I knew that one day this will pay off. And finally, the tree is finally giving me fruit.
So how did you, through all of that hard work, how do you keep your eye on the end goal? Right. So there's a lot of hard work within that, a lot of weeks where you work those hours, not knowing that what will happen on the back end. So stay motivated to continue to dream about, being an entrepreneur and to get into all these business ventures that you're now.
I would say like my family also had a restaurant that was successful, and I would see the rewards that he had from the restaurant. So I was pretty much mentored by them, and I knew that if I was consistent every day, we will be able to accomplish that. And that applies to anything, and it applies to like working out, work, school. If you're consistent in working out, you will get to your goals quick. If you're wanting to go to school, you want to get good grades, being consistent on your homework, studying, you're gonna get that A or B that you want. And I apply it the same way with the restaurant. If I'm consistent on the recipes, on the service, and making sure that every customer leaves happy, we will get that result. It's just being patient, and it's a matter of time.
And now talk to me about what major you chose at DePaul and why did you decide to choose the major that you were in, knowing where you wanted to go?
I studied management with a concentration in entrepreneurship. I was always curious about companies like visionary companies and Fortune 500 companies, and how did they go from being a small family business to a Fortune 500 company. And after doing lots of research on like billionaires and top leaders, I realized that they were all mostly CEOs of their own companies, and then for me to grow our family business and move it to the next level, I I think studying management with the concentration in entrepreneurship was a great choice for me at DePaul. Sorry, it's my
So,
dog.
no, no worries, no worries. What type of dog do you have?
He's a chocolate lab. He has a little mix of husky in him.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
100 pounds, 5 years old.
Well, definitely wanting attention from the audience. So, so,
Come here, Zeus.
so, um, so you were taking all of these business classes. All right. So you were taking these business classes, you were working all of these hours, and you were finally putting the steps in place to be able to go to the family business and start your own. So what were those first steps? So while you were taking classes and while you were saving up and making these moves, what was then the first step into going into the place where you are now? When you were in college, what was that first thing that you did?
Sorry, can you kind of repeat that one more time? Like, what did I do to open up a restaurant, or what steps did I?
So
Or
yeah, while you were in college and you were working towards your goal, so then what was that first step to making the restaurant a reality?
um, the restaurant was already open. When I was in college, we were already 2 years in, but it wasn't doing as great as we wanted it to be. So once I went to DePaul and I started taking these classes like the hospitality classes, accounting, finance, marketing, human resources, I kind of started understanding how a company is run under like different departments, and so I started like realizing that applying that to the restaurant. Okay, now we have to have marketing in our restaurant. So we didn't have a social media, we didn't have a website, we didn't so I ended up creating an Instagram for La Vaca, and after 3 years of doing it, and now my followers grown from 0 to 7,000. Human resources, I created a employee handbook where we give a little history, we break down the rules and policies of the restaurant, protocols, what to do and stuff like that. um, Financing and accounting, I learned that we have to start planning and budgeting and figuring out what we can do to make sure that the restaurant continues to grow within the next year and 5 years, and so on. Um, so that's kind of like things that I learned from school to be able to grow the business and take the next step of how do we do it from a small family-owned restaurant to a bigger thing than just being small family run.
Okay, so the going and taking the courses that you were taking were just giving you the knowledge base to be able to better run your business.
Right, right. Improve it and and take it to the next level. Um,
Now, then how did you deal with those moments where you thought things were, you said it wasn't going so well. So how did you deal with just continuing to stay motivated and continuing to work on making sure that, that the restaurant was going to be successful?
um, I always had like a faith inside me that this restaurant was very special, and it was just a matter of time for more and more people to get to know us. There were times where I did break down because of it was just a lot of stress, being 23, 24, working so many hours, being in school. I would say, I did lose my cool, he will say, and I broke out. I went outside, I was crying, I was stressed out. It was just so much work going on. And then I just remembered a movie called The Titanic. And I kind of realized that captains of the ship, they're not the first ones off the boat. They stay to the very end if it's going down. So I got back up. I said, I'm the leader, I'm the captain, I have to get back up, and I'm going to make sure that this restaurant succeeds. And that was just during like one shift in particular. I think it would say it was like the turning point of the restaurant, because from one day to the next, it got really busy. There was like an hour wait time for people to come in. I was understaffed. I didn't know what to do, how to delegate. I was running all over restaurant. I was being a busboy, a food runner, a bar bag, to even a dishwasher all in one day, just to make sure the customers leave happy and they have a good experience. Um, so basically, it was just kind of like faith that one day this will get to where we want it to be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's definitely awesome, and in dedication as well. So you talk about you being one of the co-owners, and being going into this venture with your family. So
Mm.
how does that dynamic work as far as being in business with your family members, and kind of sharing the responsibilities of the restaurants that you have open now?
I think it's pretty great working with my family. We did grow up together. We also worked together. We lived together growing up. We worked in the same restaurant. My two cousins, dad, who was my uncle, he owned a restaurant called El Barco Mariscos. It's been around for, it's going to be 25 years already. I worked there. We kind of had the same mentoring from my uncle, and so we kind of had an idea of how to work with each other. We all know what our strengths and what our weaknesses are, and we were able to communicate pretty well, and we understand if one of us is frustrated or not. It's not like we're gonna fight and never talk to each other again. Like there's nowhere we can go. We live a few blocks away from each other, and so there are times where we do get into argument, but the next day we're eating breakfast and we all have the common goal, and that's basically to grow the restaurant and business.
Now, Ivan, if you're talking to, let's say, a 14-year-old, and he or she is thinking about, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. What are some advice would you give them that they can do at that age to be able to be in a position where you are now?
Hmm. 14 years old. Well, absolutely. Mm, 14 years old. Is that a high school student?
Yeah, so high school age.
Okay. Um, Definitely save as much as you can and start working as soon as possible. If you're going to school Monday to Friday, try to look for a weekend job if you could, and that's either babysitting, doing chores, or if you can find a job anywhere on the weekends, take it and save as much as you can. And because one day I feel everyone will see an opportunity in life. And the best feeling is seeing it and having enough funds to be able to take advantage of it. I think there's nothing worse than seeing an opportunity and just letting it go by just because you didn't have enough funds. Um, so whether it be, if you're in high school, if you can get a weekend job, save as much as you can. It's going to create great discipline on your time management, and on your finances. You'll be able to learn how to budget your money well. The dollar will have more value for you. You'll start understanding, do I really want to work 5-6 hours just to buy those pairs of shoes, or do I want to save that for the future? So that would be basically my advice for high school students, to start working as soon as you can on weekends, and just save.
All right, so how do you save, Ivan? Like, how do you save? You're 15, the new Jordans have come out. How do you say no? Like, how do you say no to that?
um, it's just basically um, knowing what you want to accomplish, and you got to be patient, and understanding that small little saving a little bit here and there do add up in the long run. Um, if I had to have like a strategy on how to save, I learned this in one of my accounting classes. It's basically the 33% rule. Uh, 33% of your income, you basically um, pay your bills, and that's basically like cell phone, gas, um, any bills that you have. The other 33%, you save it for a future investment, and then the other 33% you basically spend it on whatever you like. So you can basically buy yourself those pairs of shoes that you worked for, go out to the movies or go on a little, take a date out or anything like that. But you do have to have a strategy on how to save.
Okay, so I know that businesses are different when it comes to having the funds and resources to be able to invest. So what's a target number that you would say for a student to save? So if I'm a student and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take Ivan's route and I'm going to open up my own restaurant, what's a target number that they need to have as far as savings to give them an idea?
Um, every business is different. I was fortunate enough to have my brother, my two cousins, so we were able to combine income. But if I were alone and I wanted to start off somewhere, there's always a food truck to start off with. I know, I was in a lucky position where my grandparents had a restaurant and they didn't know what to do with it after retirement. So we were able to take over, and we did get a good deal from our grandparents. We just had to like change the name, remodel, change the menu and all that stuff. So I am grateful for the position that we were in, but I know from not having that, if we were not in that position, it would have been much difficult. But I would say start off with, you know, depending on where you're at, start off with a little bit. First, save 1,000, and then once you hit 1,000, try to get to 10,000. Once you get to 10,000, try to get to 20,000, and start doing a business plan. Start Google is a great option. YouTube, and there's also this non-for-profit organization called the Hatchery. It's a non-for-profit organization in the west side of Chicago. They do great things. They help young entrepreneurs reach their goals, and there's a lot of resources out there that people can get, like the Axion. They're a great tool for you to raise capital. But to open up a restaurant, it is quite expensive. So you do have to save, start young. Like when I said, like if you're 16 years old and you can get a weekend job, start saving. By the time you're 25, if you save 33% of that income, you could be at a good position, and you could find something that's reasonable and grow from there, whether it be a food truck or a small stand at a farmer's market, or to a small commercial space, in a surrounding neighborhood.
All right, so Ivan, now that you're an owner, tell me about some of the things that you wish you would have known being an owner that you know now versus when you originally started your business.
That's actually a pretty great question. When I opened up Lincoln Park a few months ago, 8 years after the opening of the first one, I learned so much, and I was always asking myself, what am I going to do different this time to make sure that this restaurant gets busier quicker? And it was basically, we had to take advantage of social media. People are always looking for a place to go eat, and basically posting pictures that look really good, that will bring attention to like food bloggers and and even your followers. And also planning. As management, you have to make sure you hire the right people. And it's basically, I learned to build an employee handbook where there's an interview process. I learned how to look at resumes, and also a training program where when they first come in, right off the bat, I go over the employee handbook. We train them. We tell them a little history about the restaurant. We go over the menu. They learn what each dish has, and it's just basically just training staff a little bit better. The first time around, we were a brand new restaurant, new brand, new identity. No one knew about us. And every employee with experience did not want to work there because they already knew it was kind of slow, and they were going to make good tips there. So we did have to hire a lot of people who were unexperienced, didn't know too much about customer service. And it being such a big restaurant, we kind of like, we didn't we didn't prepare for that. We were kind of like, why don't you know how to serve a table? So we did have to create that. And it's just basically planning, organizing, and leading is basically pretty much it. And opening up a next restaurant is preparing for it, and filling in those little gaps that you know that you can do to improve.
That's awesome. And Ivan, my last question is, what's your final advice for any students and families who may be looking at this article, looking for some advice? What would be your final advice for them?
I would say love what you do, obviously. Love what you do, and be patient. Have a plan. Me, myself, I have a 30-year plan. I know what I want to accomplish by the time I'm 60. And I started backwards. I know what I want to accomplish when I'm 60. So what do I got to do in my 50s to get to where I want to be in my 60s? What do I got to do in my 40s in order to get to where I want to be when I'm in my 50s, and so on. So right now I just turned 30. I have a game plan. I have a checklist of things that I have to do year by year in order to accomplish where I want to be when I'm 40. And understand things don't happen overnight. You just got to be consistent every day, stay focused, and being passionate at what you do. Basically, it just makes it a lot easier. If you don't like it, and you're kind of stressed out, and you just don't like what you're doing, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get to where you want to be. So just plan, stay disciplined, and keep your eyes on the prize.
All right, so where can they find more information about Lavaca? Where can people go?
There's a lot of articles. We've been featured. If you Google Lavaca Margarita Bar, we've been featured on the Chicago Eater. We were featured on Choose Chicago, which is like the official marketing website of the city of Chicago. We've been featured on, we got a shout out on B96. Just basically Googling the restaurant. You'll see a bunch of articles about us, of highlights and things that we've been featured for, like our margaritas, our food, our drinks. We have a little bit of on our website. You can follow me on LinkedIn. There in my bio, you can kind of see like who I am, what my goals are, and what do I want to accomplish. And just basically trying us out, visiting us, trying our food, getting to see what our culture is like, and experience Lavaca experience.
Oh, awesome. Well, I can tell people from my experience that it's amazing atmosphere, amazing food, and also amazing people behind the scenes. So Ivan, thank you very much. Thank you for participating in our interview today. From our team and our department, we wish you the best of luck in all your future ventures. And for anybody who's reading this article, just know that, Ivan and all of the things that he's doing has always taken out time to support and give back to not only DePaul, but also the students as well. So again, amazing people. Go out there and support Lavaca Margarita Bar in Pilsen or Lincoln Park, and any other ventures that come on in the future, because he's always going to be doing big things in this industry. So we thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. It was an honor to do this.